Welcome to Iron Summit, the podcast where we dive deep into the art and science of becoming your best self, blending expert insights on strength training, smart recovery, optimal nutrition, and mindset mastery to help you elevate your game.
What's up, guys? If you're looking to level up your training, click the link in the description and check out the Iron Summit Gains Emporium. Our strength training plans are designed to help you pack on muscle, and with our software, you can track every workout right from your phone. Plus, you'll have direct access to us for any questions along the way. Don't just train, level up your training.
Listen up. Ryan and I, we're not usually big fans of pre-workouts. As Ryan and I have discussed a lot in the past, they're either usually full of shit, way underdosed on the good stuff, and overdosed on the stim. Thankfully for us, we have had our prayers answered. Code Nutra just launched their all-natural organic pre-workout called Code Nectar. If Ryan and I were to design a pre-workout, this would be it. 150 milligrams of caffeine from natural sources, green tea and guarana, beetroot extract for the vasodilation, and L-theanine to smooth all that out. Best part, it's all delivered by honey and Redmond's real salt. That's a good pre-workout. Go get some. CodeNutra.com and use code IRON for 15% off. But yeah, I did a cut this summer to get, I don't know, just get leaner, see how my body responded getting pretty lean. And then got down to like low 240s, and now I'm just slowly coming out of it. But before we started here, we were just talking, Greg is about to pass me in weight. What'd you weigh this morning?
On the way up, 242.9.
Dude, you've done a great job too of like, it is like good muscle tissue. It's not like you're getting sloppy. So, I mean, what we talked about it a little bit before we hopped, but what do you think that is other than just routine, putting on like quality tissue in a short period of time?
Well, man, it could be a few different things. So I would say, I did a bodybuilding competition, and before that, I was always, it just, how you guys kind of are too, probably, always focused on being in the gym and like doing more of a power bodybuilding style, but like my own training, what I wanted to do. I typically do a plan, but like I'd also come up with it myself. I'd switch it up if I needed to. I'd run all the time. I was wrestling, you know what I mean? So it's not super conducive to bodybuilding, but it will build you a really good base, obviously. Like, how you guys look from wrestling, how everybody looks from wrestling if they're training hard in the gym and wrestling. But then after that, I was like, okay, if I'm going all in on this, and I at this point, like I met somebody who was going to be my coach, help me out for my peak week and everything. I'm like, all right, if I'm going to go all in, I want to make sure I'm all in on the food side, all in on the training side, the execution side, listening to somebody and not just doing everything myself and second guessing, like, oh, should I start cutting? Am I too fat right now? Am I, do I scale back? Do I push more? You know what I mean? So just putting that in somebody else's hands, and like assessing my physique and everything. And then you got to start dabbling in, the super supplement area too. So that's another thing that's going to, obviously help you with, making gains and making sure you stay lean and, really building that insulin sensitivity, which I think is huge when you're coming out of like a show, or you guys know from wrestling, like after we're done wrestling and we're super lean at the end of the season, like that's a period of growth if you take advantage of that. If you reverse out of a season and you start training really hard in the gym and you just keep building your calories, like you can stay lean for so long and put on 20, 25 plus pounds. I didn't really feel like I was putting on much fat until I got to 230, and I was 198 at my lowest. Whenever I was doing that prep, I was like anemic, but it was,
yeah. It is crazy how that works. I want to touch on a couple of things you said there. One is, with how much do you think the base, because I think about this a lot, the base from wrestling, the cardiovascular ability, like the ability, I don't know, it's probably also like a mental toughness base. But I think, how much do you think all that helps with adding, like now that, you're not doing as much cardio now, but like a hard leg day is not as taxing to you because of your cardiovascular base as it is to probably a lot of other people pursuing bodybuilding.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. I think like the two things from wrestling, man, that really set wrestlers apart if they want to, go the bodybuilding route. And I'm not sure if you guys know or watch like the top level bodybuilders, but
Yep.
the Mr. Olympia was a collegiate wrestler.
Yeah, Derek Lunsford.
Yeah. So like this is something that he's talked about and that we probably notice. Our central nervous system is so adapted to super high intensity training for years on end that like the way people would get fried from a specific plan, bodybuilding, powerlifting, whatever it is, that don't have that sports background is not super similar to, us, like where we can push for a while and then wake up and do it again the next day because we were doing 2 practices and a lift and not really sleeping and not really eating and doing it again the next day. Like that builds to a point where you have to go one way or another. You're either going to break down or you're going to adapt some way. So I think like in a nutshell, definitely wrestling takes you to another level whenever it comes to how hard you can train. And on the cardiovascular side, it's like at the end of the day, man, lifting can be very hard, like a hard leg day if you put everything you have into it. But you also, it's that one set. At most, it's probably like a minute long if it's, time under tension, a little bit higher rep. And then to have an ideal next set, you probably just want to take as much time as you can in between
So,
each set anyways. So wrestling, it's like, okay, we just went 3 minutes. Now we get like 15 seconds. We got to go again. That's not how lifting is. And that's not how you're going to be optimal in your training if you want to put on strength, muscle, whatever it might be.
yeah, that's a good point. So you think it's mostly a CNS adaptation, and then maybe because of your cardiovascular base, you can turn around those sets a little quicker and get more like total load in. Like it's more comfortable. And I know you and I were talking about this, Greg. Like I have to tell myself to slow down when I'm lifting. I've lifted with Ryan, it's even worse. Like, yo, Ryan, chill.
No.
Take more than 90 seconds between a set, man.
Let's level set really quickly. We kind of hopped into it, but Greg, you were a 2-time All American. You were coaching at Columbia. You're basically doing bodybuilding full time now. Is that correct to say, or what is? Are you doing a day job? Are you doing your online coaching stuff? How's that playing into like your training schedule?
Yeah. So funny enough, I'm still full time in the corporate world. So I was doing that at Columbia too, and that's another reason why I was all over the place there.
That's a
Because
lot, yeah.
I was talking to Donnie, ahead of time before I went. I was like, I have a really good gig right now. I work remote in sales. Like I can create my own schedule. It's very easy, and especially with the social media side of things and online coaching, like this is pretty comfortable for me. But Donnie, somebody I respect a ton, and like always loved Donnie. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go for this. But while I was there doing it, it just turns into a lot, man. Like it's a lot to do it, even if I work remote and both of the online coaching and the sales. I can create my own schedule. It was pretty tough, but I'm still in that sales role. So I'm doing that, doing the online coaching, trying to, figure out social media. Like I feel like Max is dabbling a little bit now too, but I never really figured it out.
Pictures. That's my attempt.
I feel like it's just a consistency game. But yeah, no, it's definitely they change the algorithms. It's crazy.
But to answer your question on the bodybuilding side too, so like you guys are probably very similar. Like outside of business and money and stuff, I need to focus on something else. Like it was wrestling for a while, and then whenever it wasn't wrestling, I did a marathon the year after I graduated, and the year after that. So that was last year or so. Or 2 years ago, I forget. I did like that CWA, like I feel like I need to compete in something, but it was still, there was always like a missing link. Like I'm not putting my day to day into something long term. And then I just decided, I always thought I wanted to do a bodybuilding competition because I've been training for 13 years, love bodybuilding and powerlifting, all that sort of thing, or at least training at least, at the end of the day. So I did it. And then I'm like, this is sweet. I'm just going to go all in on it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I think too bad, like going back to a little bit what we were talking about right before that too, like the wrestling base and being such a high level wrestler. I think that mentality and hard training, it's like a double-edged sword for sure. I was listening to a trainer talk about this the other day. He's like, I got to pull my wrestlers back because they're like masochists, and it's like just give me as much as I can and I'll figure out a way to get it done. And you kind of touched on it, but how has your mindset changed with training where you're like, hey, I'm trying to push this really hard, but I also, like you said, between sets, I got to recover. I got to make sure that, most of your training is, the 23 hours you're not in the gym. And that's really how you're putting on this size. Obviously you're working hard in the gym, but like the recovery, the food, all that stuff matters a lot in what you're trying to do now.
Yeah, man. I would say like the the rest time in the gym isn't tough for me. Like that's something that I kind of learned early on. I don't think like the meal side of it too, even though I wasn't as strict before, down to the gram of things and weighing everything to a T, I was still pretty strict on like hitting certain macros and stuff. The hard part for me is scaling back after like, maybe I've been pushing for 3 or 4 months and I'm seeing growth still, but like in my day to day, I'm a little tired. I'm a little run down. My hips hurt. I'm a little fatigued. And I'm like, am I being a pussy or do I need to scale back? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's good having a coach too, where I'm like, hey, I took a deload probably, and I want to say 14 or 15 weeks ago. So I'm probably coming up on needing like another one at this point, but it's always a 3 to 4 month time frame for me. And I will say that recovery wise, I have to do a 2 on 1 off because if I go 3 on 1 off or anything more than that, I typically get pretty beat up pretty quick. Just because, like we're talking about, the level of training intensity and pushing yourself to the max. I do more of like a DC style training, so like a hit, top set, back off, some volume work with it. I don't go all in on volume. I think that might be better long term, but I just prefer, going all in on a set, trying to beat that from last week and then doing a back off.
That's interesting. I like that. I do a similar style, but I'll like build to a top set. So I get some volume on like the build up,
Mm-hmm.
hit a top set, the next exercise. Actually done both ways, but
Yeah.
it is I do like that's probably a little bit of the wrestler too, is like having that top set to aim for and just crush it. I understand the argument for doing it. I want to hear your input, Greg, but I do not like training at like RPE 8 and calling it there. It's just like I've done it before. It's for like deloads and stuff, or like when I got really low on calories. My coach was like, "You got to do this. Train at a 7 or an 8," but it was like brutally boring and really hard for me to do.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I think for us, it's just not fun. Like that's what it comes down to for me. Like I don't think it's fun to do that. But for most people, like I'll say, and you were touching on this earlier when it comes to like telling wrestlers to scale back. I have a mixture of clients where, I have wrestlers who that's what you need to tell them to do. Like they'll send me their exercises. I'll have them record everything initially and it'll be like crazy shitty form and like much as they can. But it's like, "Dude, I know that you're trying to be as strong as you possibly can, but lock in this form first, do these
Yeah.
things, and we'll build from there." But then the other side of it is, some lifestyle people that I know, maybe around my area or I met through a mutual friend or something, where like they're very locked in on form, but you can tell that they're probably like 6 RIR. Like that they have so much more in the tank where it's like you don't really know how to get there yet. You got to push yourself. So like when it comes to RP, RIR, a lot of people, if they're not wrestlers and they're not trained athletes, don't really know where that true RP10 actually is, especially on like Max. I saw you put up hack squats yesterday and I did the same thing. Like nobody knows if you really lock in how to get to a complete failure set on something like a 12 rep hack squat,
Yeah, dude, that's such a good point, and I think you make an excellent point because I feel like this is where like truly advanced lifting begins, is when you can lock in on technique, but then push an RPE 10. Because an RPE 10 doesn't mean, like you said, doesn't mean getting wild with it. And I've actually, Alexis last night sent me a bunch of videos of me lifting like right out of college. And like, oh man, I'm like benching, my butt's like flying off the bench. I'm strong, but like not locking in on the technique. And like you can train hard, but you kind of got to like, when you really start to make the serious advances in training and be able to truly measure things like RPE and RIR, you're like locking in on the form and then really pushing the intensity.
Mhm.
And the better you can get at that, that's when you start, especially in bodybuilding, you start to see like real results because you're able to focus in on specific lines of tissue so incredibly well that you can like really push intensity for like upper chest.
And you don't get hurt. Like when you
Yeah.
start failing technically and you keep pushing it and then you like round your back on, a squat or a deadlift and it's like, then you're out of the gym for 3 months because you tweaked your back and you're not really pushing it. So yeah, I
Mhm.
think it's a good point. That's like, I don't know, ego lifting. I know it's, yeah, check your ego at the door. But on the other side, like lifting with a partner that's like pretty similar in size to you definitely pushes you to like throw 5 more pounds on the bar and like try to push that extra rep when you're, tired.
Mhm. Yeah, there's a time and place where I feel like, I'll start a program and I'll be like super locked in on the form, and I probably won't go to absolute failure that first week as I'm locking
Mhm.
everything in, but it will be pretty close still, let's
Yeah.
just say 1 to 2 RIR. But then over time, let's say for 12 weeks, just an example here, that I'm like trying to progress every week, my form by the end of it will still be better than 99% people, like of people in the gym's form. But I know for me, maybe like I'm speeding this rep up a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not pausing in the hole as much. Maybe I'm not. So then, like, once I put on, let's say, like, I'll use my hack squat, for example. Like, if I went up a plate over that 12-week time frame, then, if I'll deload and scale back and get into a new plan, I might go down 20 pounds on each side or something like that and lock in that form. And I'm still way ahead of where I was previously, but I'm locking in my form again to kind of restart and
Mhm.
build that base from there because, like we were talking about how we want to progress every week. It's like we want to get stronger. And sometimes form just slowly fades on it. Like, not that it's bad, but it's
100%.
where it was the first week.
Yeah. 100%. That's like, it's so tricky for me to not push it too fast to degrade the form, or like I'm trying to like keep the tempo the same from week 1 to week 6 of a program.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a tricky thing, but I like, my coach actually said you gotta give a program a time to like decant, to breathe. So like don't start too fast. Start with weights like you can really control. You're still pushing it hard, they still hurt, but you're not like, don't start like way ahead, because one, it's gonna be hard for you to beat that week to week, and two, you're probably gonna be sacrificing technique and form on that
Mhm.
first week. Another thing, and
Thing too. Like,
yeah, for sure.
yeah.
The other thing, we had a guy on, I don't know, a couple months ago. Tyler Neely's his name. He's a
Massive.
NPC level bodybuilder, but he's definitely like gonna be on the Olympia stage soon. He's 6'3", over 300 pounds, crazy physique. But what he said, I like it. He's like, every set, he's like, I lift like, can't remember who he said, but a bodybuilder who does like perfect technique for like the first like 8 to 10 reps. And then he's like, I turn into Branch Warren.
Yeah.
I like 10 to 15 reps and kind of just like throw the weight around, which I think is also a kind of it's another way to approach it, where you're like really locking in. And then as you fatigue, to get kind of some extra stimulus, you can kind of let the technique go a little bit. Plus you've kind of like earned that
Mhm.
through the first 10 reps of the set.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too, is like right now on social media, there's like a push for science, and there's the debate between, the new age, like kids that don't really have a foundation or anything, or like trying to put up social media content, probably like just trying to fire people up. But then there's, bodybuilders or, just advanced lifters that are like firing back on just do like go intense and train hard, that sort of thing. Where I feel like there's definitely a middle ground with it, but
Percent.
whenever you're early on in your lifting career, like you gotta, yes, lock in form, whatever it might be, but don't worry about like, overtraining, fatigue, volume. It's kind of funny. I feel like the old man that's hating in the gym or something at this point. I'm only 27, but yesterday, I was finishing up and I was in the locker room and there were like these two kids that were probably in high school. And the one was like, I'm trying to like build my upper chest, like saying to his friend, they were like, why don't we do some more incline presses today? And he's like, well, I don't want to do too much volume and like be too fatigued. And I'm thinking to myself, like,
Shut up.
well, I don't know how hard you just trained, but you weren't really sweating or anything. Like,
Yeah.
you're doing some incline presses right at this point after your workout wouldn't be too fatiguing where tomorrow you can't do anything or like you're hung up
Yeah.
for days,
Yeah.
I do think there's a healthy overtraining when you're in high school. Like Andrew Howe used to say that to me. Like once I was like a junior in college, he's like, I know there was like a healthy overtraining in high school. Everybody's doing that, whatever. It's like, you're not, 18 anymore. You need to take some rest days and like be smart about your training now. Um, but I think about if I could like build somebody to be like a good bodybuilder, you probably want them when they're young to learn how to train hard, even if it's not the most like
Sure.
optimal. Like your recovery, you're growing, your like hormones are awesome. Like you're gonna put on some muscle and you're gonna learn where that line is. Cause I think to Max's point earlier, like a lot of people lift and then be like, that was kind of tough. I'll stop there. And it's like they have 4 or 5 more reps in them and just kind of never really push the intensity. And then it's hard to do that if you don't make that, I don't know, a habit.
Mm-hmm. If you don't learn that early on, if you don't learn intensity or how to push yourself, it's going to be that much harder when you get older to actually push to those limits and boundaries and build from there. When you're, training wrestling for, I don't know, however long since you're a kid and doing something really hard all the time, it makes something like lifting way easier
Yeah.
to do after. And then you enjoy like training when you're
You're like,
lifting.
this is
The
fun
pop,
compared
and
to
it's like,
wrestling. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like you're like, wow, this isn't that hard. Like I'm, failure on this, whatever. But people who don't know what that's like or weren't really in hard sports or any sports or anything, like they don't know how to get to that limit. They don't know how to push to actual failure. And that's probably what's going to be something that holds them back forever. And not that, everybody's trying to be like as jacked and big as possible, but most people want to have a good physique if they're in the gym at all. And like most people's genetics, you can't just go look at weights and you get to where you want to be. Like you're going to have to push it for a period of time. It's easier to maintain, but the foundation is huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we talk quickly, like, what are your goals in bodybuilding? Because I think about wrestling, it's like very tangible. Okay, I'm trying to win this tournament. I'm trying to do, XYZ. Where with bodybuilding, it's like I'm trying to look as good as possible. How do you gamify your training, or do you gamify your training when it's a little bit more subjective than wrestling?
Yeah, I would say, so like when it comes to long-term goals or anything, I really don't have any at this point. Like I'm not gonna say, oh, I want to be Mr. Olympia. That would be sweet to be on the Olympia stage or something at some point. I'm doing classic physique, by the way, so weight caps and everything. Um, but I don't have a long-term goal there. Short-term goal is to just bring my legs up and just become more balanced because my upper body will grow like a weed. Like whenever I got off the stage and started growing in May, my upper body was just shooting up and my legs were just like very slowly going up. And I'm like, what the hell is going on? So I um I texted my coach, right before I started the new plan, probably 3 months ago. And I'm like, hey man, I think we gotta like go a little higher frequency, like switch something up. He was like, I'm thinking the same thing with your legs. Like, let's switch to an upper lower. So I've been doing like an upper lower split, but not all upper, all lower. I'll do like a push upper and then lower quad focus, maybe pressing day off, and then I'll go into like a pull, so full back day, a little bit of biceps, into like a glute ham focus with a little bit of quads off. And then I'll do like a mix of upper, like lats into delts, into some chest, 2 exercises each. Day after that, maybe like a less taxing leg day, like an adductor, abductor, hyperextension, hip thrust, leg extension, that sort of thing. Rest. And that's grown I wish I would have measured my legs before I started this because I feel like I probably put on like 2 to 3 inches in the last like 4 months and it's skyrocketed my legs. And my upper body's like probably a little bit bigger. It hasn't grown as much,
Yeah.
but that's where you have to put your focuses in different spots. So like when it comes to that subjectivity that you're talking about, like I got to grow my legs and I can't just, you can grow everything at once, I guess you could say. And some people who are genetic outliers can get really big that way. But if you're really trying to put your effort into an area that you're trying to grow, you're going to want to put more frequency there, more volume, and focus on that for a period of time. So that's kind of my goal is growing my legs right now and just slowly tweaking some things in my upper body.
At Iron Summit, we are about getting everything we can out of our workouts and everyday lives. If you aren't wearing a pair of barefoot or wide toe box trainers, you are leaving gains on the table. The Sashi Athletics Ronin Ichi Minimalist Trainer is a perfect barefoot shoe. Not only does it perform like other major brands on the market, it is actually good looking. Even my wife says so. Get a pair today for 10% off with the code IronSummit10. Link is in the bio. Yeah, that's awesome. I think it's a great point. You have to kind of assess the recovery demand from each training session. And if you're like crushing your upper body and crushing your lower body, they're both just going to grow a little slower. And you're probably just going to grow like you said, whatever your genetics are predisposed towards growing better.
Mhm.
Where so like if you kind of you and your coach adjusted your training to really focus on allowing the recovery to happen in the legs, not training the upper body. It's not like you're not training it, just not as hard or as much volume as you might otherwise, and then it allows your legs to start catching up.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm doing the almost the exact same split right now, and for the exact same reason is to grow my hamstrings.
I was
And
gonna say, you're definitely not you don't need to grow your quads right now.
Max has like 3 quads on his quad.
I need to grow my hamstrings though. There's a reason I don't post pictures from the back.
Yeah.
That's the only reason, Max.
What else would there be?
I don't know, Greg. Hey, what's your nutrition look like, man? I'm always curious. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, training's awesome. It's the fun part. I think everybody in here can agree with. Like, that's what it's fun to do. But what's your nutrition look like? How has that changed as you've, put on some muscle and changed your physique?
Yeah, so I was always, I would eat similar things in a day to day before, but I was pretty focused on calories and macros. Maybe some days if I was a little lower on carbs, higher on fat, that'd be fine, that sort of thing. Um, but once I transitioned more to bodybuilding, I go full in on a meal plan, and like that consistency helps my digestion so much. So like I've eaten pretty much the same thing in lower or higher quantities for 6 months now, every day, like every time of the day. And it's easy for me. Like some people would be like, how the hell are you doing that? Like, I don't really mind it because I feel good when I do it. I enjoy the meals that I eat too. I don't enjoy them so much to where like I'm thinking about the next meal, but like I enjoy them just enough to where it's easy to get down.
Well,
And I'm also
yeah.
food right now, so it's not like I'm that hungry. But I got to a point where I was pushing up for probably 3 to 4 months after the show, and then I scaled back for like 6 to 8 weeks just because my digestion got a little screwed up. Like I was gaining weight and kind of feeling shittier. But I got to a point where I was eating 6 meals, all right around 120 grams of carbs each, a little bit higher on my pre-workout meal because I'd add in like a chocolate chip muffin too. So I needed some sort of shittier calories, I guess you could say, to just get enough in.
Yeah.
And then I would have 2 Rice Krispie treats pre and post workout, 60 grams of carbs intra, and then across each meal is around 40 to 50 grams of protein, more on the 50 side pre and post workout. And then I think it was 10 to 15 grams of fat a meal. And this is all like, I'm just talking about the source. So, fats from olive oil, 10 to 15 grams, but not counting the meat and not counting
Okay.
so that's the way I would look at it in a meal plan, at least. And whenever I just decided, you know what, I'm going to see how many calories this is, around 6,100
Yeah, I was gonna say.
in August. And that was tough, man. I was
Yeah.
hurt. Wait,
I'm doing some mental math. That's like 600 carbs, like 250 to 300 protein, and then what are you at fats wise?
Like probably 130, 150.
well, my carbs were closer to like 900, dude, because I was doing like 110 to
Dang.
120 a meal.
And
So then
then intra
6
workout.
meals, I have 60 grams
Oh,
intra.
geez.
I'd have
Dang.
Rice Krispie treats, and then
900
more
carbs.
Rice Krispie treats, and then on leg days, I'd have a chocolate chip muffin before too. So that would be like an extra 60 there. So it was probably like in the 8 to 900 range.
That's insane. Wow.
It's a lot of carbs.
And the funny thing is too, like when I got my blood work done, well, I have a glucose monitor, so I'll check my blood glucose, and it's always like high 80s, low 90s at the max. And my HbA1c too was 4.9 or 5.0, and I'm like, dude, I've been pushing 900 grams of carbs for months now. I'm like, I feel like I should have been pre-diabetic at this point.
That's funny. But you scaled back on that, just got hard on the digestion.
Pardon the digestion. So I scaled back to it was probably around 4,500 calories in the range. So I would do a low, medium, high day, rest day, upper leg days would all be probably 300 calories apart from carbs, pretty much the same protein and fats. So right around 4,000 to 4,500 for a bit. And then like 5 weeks ago, I started pushing up again. So taking this one much slower because I don't have that like anabolic rebound effect coming out of a show where I'm like, you can just super saturate your muscles and push food pretty hard and stay really lean. Like I'm lean right now, but I'm not to the point where I'm going to push food super hard and gain 3 pounds a week. So it's
Yeah.
been slow and steady climb, gaining probably a pound a week at this point on, I don't know how many calories it is, but it's 5 meals now, which is way easier for my digestion, and pretty much the same amount of carbs, little less fat, and then a little more protein in each meal. So it's maybe 1,000 calories under that from before.
You said you're eating a lot of like quick carbs, right? Around workouts. Like what kind of foods are you eating for your meals typically?
I guess your protein, fat, carb
Mhm.
source.
Yeah.
I'll do eggs, sourdough, avocado every morning. I do ground turkey for my meat for all meals. It digests super well for me. Chicken was screwing me up a little bit.
Hmm.
So I'll do ground turkey and rice. Second meal with some sort of vegetable, and then I'll do cream of rice, whey isolate, blueberries, banana, pre-workout. And then this is like a typical day, work day. And then I'll do 60 grams of carbs intra from Gatorade. And then I'll do creatine intra too. Post-workout, turkey and rice again, rice and like both of them are a little bit higher in carbs, a little bit more protein too. 8 ounces of turkey and 150 grams dry weight of rice. And then before I go to bed, I do like a yogurt bowl, um, protein powder, rice cakes, banana, almond butter, stuff like that.
So you're not really eating beef. You're mostly just turkey all the way.
I used to be a big ground beef guy, but like it's not because I'm against it. It's just because I noticed that ground turkey does so well for me, and
Hmm.
it's also really cheap. Like I'm buying so much food. I get it from Aldi. I Instacart it. It's like $5 a pack. So I'm like,
There you go.
I'll load up on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, those are all good sources. I think the consistency is kind of like that's one of the most underrated aspects of eating and just eating the same things kind of over and over and over. It's hard for a lot of people, but I think it makes a huge difference. Like you said, Greg, it's for your digestion. I notice if I like try and vary it too much or add in crazy, my digestion just gets off. And then every time, especially when you're trying to add muscle tissue and you're pushing the calories, like every little change is way more noticeable. If
Mhm.
you're in a deficit, you can kind of eat whatever and your digestion's all right. But when you start pushing the calories, like every bit more you push, the more sensitive your digestion is.
You make a great point. It's like the bulking side of it. I think you need to eat pretty much the same thing every day to keep that digestion. But yeah, man, when you're cutting, whenever I was cutting, dude, I could have like a cheat day where I eat 10,000 calories and I
Yeah, and
woke
you're
up and my stomach was the next day.
yeah, I totally
all,
agree.
all the gunks out of the system. I saw somebody actually we're gonna have on in a couple weeks, but he was talking on a podcast with, and he's like 6'7", 300, I don't know, 20 pounds, and he was like, make no mistake, like I am pushing my body way harder. Like the amount of food and like the strain it puts on your body, having more muscle tissue, it's a big demand. But he's like, I'd rather live jacked and live 5 years less. And I'm like, I get it, like, but I mean, it is fair. Like you're pushing your system, you're processing a lot more food constantly. Like it's a lot more, um, to your point, like when you're bulking, it's tough on your stomach if you're not giving your
Totally.
body some kind of recognizable pattern.
Hmm. For sure. And I'll even say too, like when it comes to when I think about it from a coaching perspective, like if you're trying to be an elite level athlete or like you're just somebody who wants to push it really hard, like that's what I'll recommend is doing it that way. But if you're somebody who's like it's not their, the main focus of their life or like not even close to the main focus, it's fine to do macros too. It's
Hmm.
like if you can just hit this protein, try to spread it out over, 4 meals or something. Hit this number of carbs, fats, or even just protein and calories. That's probably going to get you to whatever that goal might be. It's just not optimal in my eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not like bodybuilding optimal.
Yeah.
I think this is I want to spend a minute on this because Ryan and I talk about this a lot. And this is also for everyone from bodybuilders to Gen Pop. But in terms of nutrition, the biggest things you can do is hit your macros. Like that's number one. Macros, like energy balance, that is kind of like the foundation of everything. And then from there, you can start moving into like food choices. And then on top, like whole foods versus processed foods, etc. You get into like organic versus non-organic. And then, you know, you can start getting into like really niche things. But kind of like, how do you look at that when you're coaching people? Because I think it's like something so many people are misguided on, is they're like focused on whether or not their banana is organic, but have like no idea how much protein they're eating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's it's spot on too. Like they're always putting your focus in the wrong things. With coaching, man, I try to make it as simple as possible. So like whatever they're currently doing, you know, I try to have them tell me exactly what they're eating. And if they have no idea, if they're one of those people that like, they're like, oh, I eat like different stuff all the time. Like I have no idea what, you know, protein and calories and stuff are, which you know, you'd be surprised how many people like
It's a lot.
reps and like advanced people, or, you know, you would think they'd be like advanced athletes, whatever it might be, don't know anything when it comes to how much protein's in something, or like you guys could probably look at a meal and be like protein, carbs, fats, that's what it is, you know, like a lot of people have zero idea. So I'll use an example. If somebody's like, yeah, I've been eating this and this in the day, I realize it's around 2,500 calories, like they're low on protein, but they want to gain weight. I'll start them out on a plan that's like, okay, let me just give you something that's like what I would recommend here based on the food groups you eat. Here's a meal plan. Here's macros with the two on days that you can't do the exact meal plan. I'll bring their protein up. Maybe I'll push their calories by like 200, like start them at 2,700. I'll look at their weight because I have people fill out a chart that's like their weight, their steps, their energy, digestion, stress, like all these sorts of things each day. And then over the week, if I'm like, okay, there is no gain here, they just maintained, everything was pretty smooth on the digestion and all that other stuff, then we know, okay, their protein's in a good spot now, which is good for recovery, but they're not really gaining anything. And if they're not gaining any weight at this point, I want to get them at least into like a half a pound to a pound a week, just so we know they're in a surplus. There can be a recomp effect, you know, whatever, but I'd rather just know that they're in a mini surplus there. So that's kind of how I'd go about it. Like I just start with the base, see what happens, and adjust on a week. You can't really, there's not going to be a picture perfect meal plan or macro plan for everybody to start. Everybody's super different, whether they diet on 4,000 calories or they bulk on 2,200, you know?
Yeah, I like that answer, and just like following you for a while. Like I think you take a really realistic approach because, like to your point, some people this isn't their most important thing, and so it's like you got to kind of meet them where they're at, and then adjust things that, you know, whatever they can consistently do is going to be best for them, instead of following something perfect for a week and then falling off a cliff. Um, yeah, I think that's a great point. What about, you know, I see you doing some cardio and stuff. How do you think about cardio, especially in your bulking phases? And then how does that change when you're going to, you know, you're getting show ready and really, really pulling back the calories?
Dude, I just do cardio right now, and it's not even in my plan. I just do it because like I feel like I want to. Like I feel
Okay.
like effective. Like on my rest day, I gotta get sweating, I gotta get moving, I gotta do something. And as you push weight up too, like, you know, it's not too healthy for your body. Whether, you know, whether you're natural, whether you're taking anything, like no matter what it is, pushing weight up isn't that great for you. Not too great for your blood pressure, for your lipids, your cholesterol, all those sorts of things. So like cardio is just going to be something that helps all those things. But I do cardio on rest days, so every 3 days. Sometimes I'll do fasted cardio in the morning. I always hit 10K steps. So there's, you know, as I bulk, I just need so many calories to gain weight and, you know, push and to be able to recover from training that I don't place an emphasis on it. Um, but on the flip side, like when I'm going into a prep, cardio is probably going to, you know, start out pretty slow. And then I'm just going to slowly increase it. It'll be fasted most likely. I prefer that, to be honest. I don't think there's a crazy difference between fasted versus post workout versus another time of the day, whatever it might be. Especially from an energy expenditure standpoint, you can make the argument on burning more fat, whatever. But I just like waking up and doing cardio when I typically do it. So that'll increase over time, but I'm not too big on it. I think that the diet and the training are the two main factors. And if you're training really hard, you're probably in pretty good cardiovascular condition,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or at least relatively on very hard back days, deadlifts and stuff like that, and then leg days for sure. So I think people should keep it in, but is it, top of the list? Probably not.
Yeah. I like that answer. I feel like some people are like, oh, I don't need to do cardio. I just like lift more weights. And I I do think there's a huge cardio like output if you're training really hard. Where then there's some people where it's like, hey, maybe you should throw a little more cardio in there. But I think that makes a lot of sense, especially to when I think about like your digestion. I'm sure getting your steps in, getting a little bit of movement probably helps you when you're pushing a lot of calories. And then, as you're getting to those top sets, having an extra VO2 max engine probably helps you train harder and put on more muscle in that sense too, as long as you're, out eating the calories you're burning when you're trying to bulk.
Mm-hmm.
I've come
100%. I think you made a good point on the digestion with like mini walks after you eat. Really helps with insulin sensitivity too. But going back to the cardio thing real quick though, I think like for me and probably for us or just people with more muscle mass, like that's how I'd approach it. Like you probably don't need that much until you get very lean and you keep digging. But I have a lot of clients where like, they don't have a whole lot of muscle mass or relatively, and I don't want to push them below 1,800 calories. So like
Right.
rather increase their cardio to be able to get them to lose more fat and lose more weight and get them to a point where, okay, it looks like we're lean enough, 9-10% body fat, hopefully even a little under that, to be able to reverse diet out of that and push up a little bit. So it's all person dependent on it too.
Yeah.
That's a great point. A couple things on cardio. I feel like when I'm doing, especially if it's low impact, I'm not saying like hit or something like that, but like zone 2 light cardio, going for walks. I feel like I recover better from my training. I don't know if it's just like moving fluid around the body or nutrient partitioning or what it is, but I just feel like I do recover a little bit better from hard training. So you could add that in. It's as long as like it's not really creating a recovery demand and you're out eating it, obviously. But I know like one thing people love for cardio is like Stairmaster, but that can actually like create a recovery demand because it's like a little mini leg training session or light leg training session if you do a lot of Stairmaster. So
But
something
it
to,
carves your glutes for a bodybuilding show.
yeah, that's a different goal. That's a different goal that we're talking about. But then the other thing, and I love to quote this study, but it's like they studied people who were doing, I think it was like high intensity on a fan bike versus people doing like high intensity squats and measured their VO2 max after, I think it was like 6 or 8 weeks of training, and the squats increased the VO2 max more than the fan bike.
Huh. That's pretty crazy actually. Because like we're talking fan bike like an assault bike, right?
Yeah. Versus like it was like over sets of over 15 on squat, back squat. And the back squat, it's VO2 max more.
Yeah. Well, it actually makes sense to me because I think I just did like a 19 rep set of hack squats yesterday, and
That's brutal.
much more spent after that than doing. And I guess it's relative how much time it was on the assault bike. Like, if you guys have ever done like minute sprints on the assault,
Yeah, those
that
suck.
destroy you. But
So bad.
we used to do Storny got it in his head. It was a good idea. It honestly probably helped, but it was like a morning workout on like a Monday or Tuesday, and all the starters get on. We had like 5 bikes, so we did 2 different rounds of it, and you had 7-minute goes. And then right after, you get shark baited in the middle with 2 fresh guys for 7 minutes straight while the other group's going. And like just trying to hold a stance after 7 minutes of assault bikes, you're like, what the like, this sucks.
I mean, they are torture
it's
tools.
so humbling, and it's like,
Have you ever done the max
Well-
calories in a minute?
max calories in a minute? I don't think I have.
Try
it. Max loves bringing this up. Max has some big old legs that he pushes
No,
it. And then...
I won't brag about my number. Plus, I don't want to give Greg a target. But
yeah, set the
what
bar.
what I can tell you is I've like never questioned my life so much after 1 minute than that minute on the assault bike.
Dude,
It was like hours of pain in 1 minute.
You think like 1 minute, I can do anything for 1 minute. And then dude, one thing that I was big on, and I had I did it a lot, and when I was so after school too. Like I helped out at Pitt a little bit whenever I came back to Pittsburgh, and wrestled with like Nino Bonacorsi a lot. Before that year, he won a national championship, and he's one of my close friends too. And then I went to Lock Haven for a little bit, and helped out there because I was living with my ex-girlfriend. And then Columbia after that. And I was doing a lot of assault bike stuff like in that time frame. And I would always do Tabata on the assault bikes, like 20 on, 10 easy, and that sort of thing. Dude, that would spend me like that. 4 minutes has never been so hard when you go as hard as you can doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
used
The assault
wh-
bike's brutal.
what's that training method? I forget what it's called, but it's like best way to do your VO2 max is like 4 on, 4 off, 4 on,
Oh,
4
that's
off.
like Norwegian,
Yeah. Yep.
uh, Norwegian something training.
Yeah. It's a 4 by
Those,
4.
yeah.
Well, you can't like,
No, you
you
can't go
can't have
all out.
another training for that day. Like you might maybe could do some shoulders and arms or something, but if you try to go hit legs after that, like you're spent.
Mhm.
But yeah, those things get you.
Let me ask you guys something. I'm curious. What is your approach on like core training?
That's a
Mm.
great question. We just talked about this actually. Max, go for your answer.
Yeah. I would say overall, I don't train a ton of core. I think and it obviously depends on your goals. Ryan, we just did a whole episode on this. Basically, the best way to make your core look good is get lean, first and foremost. Doesn't matter what kind of core training you do. If you have adipose tissue on your abdomen, it's like you're not going to look.
Yeah, caveats aside, what do you do?
And then on top of that, you can definitely train it. I do train it a couple times a week, and especially focus on like really training in more of like a stretch position because you get so much of that like bracing and really shortened contraction when you're doing a ton of other exercises.
Yeah.
So I'd say that in a nutshell. What about you?
Are you real quick on it too? Like whenever you, I feel like is that more from a bodybuilding and strength and like just being able to see your abs standpoint, or like when it comes to wrestling too? Because you think
Mm,
our core is so strong at all times. How much more do you need because you're using it so
Yeah.
much? How do you switch that up? So for me, I'll just say too that bodybuilding now, I barely do any core. I don't really want to grow my waist, and my core stays really tight, even being 50 pounds heavier, close to 50 pounds heavier than 6 months ago. Like I don't lose my abs. It's weird. But I want to keep my waist smaller anyway. So I'm not going to train it heavy. I do like hanging leg raises. That's it.
yeah.
More from an injury prevention standpoint because my low back gets tight, my hips get tight. So if I don't do it too often, it starts to pull my low back. When I was wrestling, I did a lot of like weighted planks and stuff to strengthen it. Weighted sit-ups, things like that. And that also helped with injury prevention too, because, maybe I was deadlifting a little bit more and then just being in your stance, I would notice my low back would get tight a lot more. So core for me is much more from an injury prevention standpoint for the most part, but that's also somebody who naturally has a good core, like aesthetic wise, and strength. It's built. I feel like it's built through wrestling, through all compound movements and stuff. But totally agree on like the diet side of it. Like if you want to see an aesthetic core, you're gonna have to diet down to where it just shows.
Yeah. I think also like to your point, you developed your core over a lot of years. So like once you're lean, you see it. Um, and I don't know. I'm a big fan of like at least one day a week doing some kind of dedicated core training, nothing crazy. But to Max's point, I think there's like a couple exercises that are bang for your buck that help outside of, obviously deadlifting and squatting. You're bracing your core all the time. Um, Hanging leg raises, like you said, I think are good. And you're probably doing more weight. Your legs weigh more now, than they did. You,
You're
you know
pretty
what I'm
much
saying?
good.
Um,
You like
and
training.
I think some kind of rollouts are good, or some kind of plank, like stabilizing your core. If you can do weighted planks and stuff. Um, I like holding onto a bench and doing like dragonflies. But I don't know that I spend a whole lot of time on core at this point either. I probably train my core more when I'm bulking because it's like, I don't know, you just feel leaner when you're doing a little bit of core training when you're bulking.
It's funny.
It's more of a mental thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's dependent on your goal. Like if you're like trying to power lift, then yeah, like you need to be training your abs for strength like regularly. If you're bodybuilding, it's probably not as important.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, And for wrestling, I think it's like, yeah, you are doing so much core all the time. You probably have to be more careful of like overtraining your core
Mm.
than anything. It's like it would be like doing grip workouts during wrestling season. It's probably not the best idea. You're gonna end up with like itis. So yeah, I think it's dependent on your goal, but I wouldn't say I don't put a ton of emphasis on it. I do it a couple times a week. And yeah, I agree with you, Greg. It's more to like keep my lower back healthy and happy than anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. When I notice if I don't do core as often as I need to, and I don't stretch my hips as often as I should, that's when I start to get issues. Low back, hip flexors, piriformis, everything starts to get tight, and it screws me up for a week or so with my training.
Yeah.
Is that just a human flaw? Like, why does everybody have low back issues, tight hips? Like, you know?
Exactly what Max just did.
Yeah. Like if you train all lower, I feel like it's because we train through our training, we put I think maybe this is just a convention of weightlifting and the exercise selections we have right now, but you train so much lower back that gets really tight and it starts pulling on your pelvis and your hip backwards. So then you got to like contract those abs and get that. So it kind of like tightens the other way and you end up in alignment. I don't know. That's my super meathead way of looking at it.
But I mean, like, totally makes sense. But at the same time, like, by that logic, like your hamstrings versus your quads should get tight, or your lats versus your chest should get tight. And
I think it
nobody,
can.
it can, but like it doesn't really happen. Like nobody's like, oh, my pec is super tight right now. Like it's everybody's like, oh, my low back hurts. My hips are
The
tight.
low back is the most sensitive area. It also has like the most nerve endings in the whole body, like a bunch of stuff there. And there's the most moving parts in that. Like you got all the spinal segments there, as well as your pelvis and your hips, your sacrum. There's like so many moving
But is
parts.
the answer train that more? Is the answer wear a lifting belt? Or is the answer back off volume so that you have more longevity on your low back?
I want to hear your answer, Greg.
I think the answer is to balance it out. I think like when you look at the reason people have, a tight pec, for instance, is typically, okay, you can say maybe like they tweaked it and when they're lifting or something, but when it comes from overuse, it's probably because, or let's say front delt, for example, they probably need to activate the rear delts a little bit more. And that's like much
Imbalance.
white, much more black and white than low back, where maybe it's your hip flexor, maybe it's your glute, maybe it's your quads, maybe it's your hamstrings. Like it could be any of those pulling and then, having some sort of domino effect on another muscle and leading into your low back, where I feel like it's a little bit more black and white with your shoulder, or maybe your back because your chest isn't worked enough, that sort of thing. That's kind of my thought on it, but I don't know what you
Yeah,
think.
I agree. I was going to say it's like balance. And Ryan, to your point on why lower back, there is like more major muscles that connect in that pelvis, lower back region than anywhere else in the body. So you do have your hamstrings, you have all your glutes, you have all your hip flexors, you have your quads, you have your erectors, you have your abdomen. And like if any of those get kind of like imbalanced, to Greg's point, because I think that is what causes a lot of like tightness and just like feeling stuck is imbalance. So like on your lower back, you have more variables that can get imbalanced.
Yeah.
The difficult part about it too is if it's like a shoulder or your front delt, you can just be like, hey, the next few days, do 3 sets of 20 base pulls and stretch your pec, and you're probably going to be fine. But with your low back, it's like, okay, do core work and stretch your glutes and stretch your hips and stretch your quads and stretch your hamstrings. And it's like, it
Yeah.
becomes so much that you have to do.
Yeah.
And if you didn't learn that early on from getting low back issues with wrestling, like my day to day would feel much more like hell with what I have to do before and after like training, because I always have to do hip mobility and stuff.
Mm.
And when it comes to like the regular, it doesn't even have to be a regular person, like anybody else who's not used to doing mobility stuff and like anything that'll keep their body healthy, it is much harder to do that 15 minutes of mobility than it is to train for an hour and a half.
Yeah. Well, I agree. That's like something I feel like I should probably continue to do more of. Like when even in college, I kind of learned that the hard way. Like doing yoga, doing some mobility stuff. It's super important, but it's like you have so many hours in a day in between, practice, lifts, extra conditioning, technique, trying to sleep, trying to get some school done. Like it was just something that kind of falls off. So how do you prioritize, or what do you do to, like, I don't know, prime your body outside of good warm-ups? Do you have dedicated mobility, yoga, sauna? Like what do you do?
Dude, it was much easier. I'll say what I did in wrestling and then now. So it was much easier for me, like, once I get rolling with something, to continue that. So,
Yeah.
like, every day after practice, I would stretch for like 10 minutes. Like, if you ask any guys in any of the rooms I was in, it was every single time after practice, unless I had to like rush to do something, 10 to 15 minutes of mobility, typically my lower body, because my upper body wouldn't have too many issues. But like you're saying, there's so much time in between, sessions and anything that you're doing. I just feel tight and don't feel like doing mobility at a random time of the day.
Yeah.
When I'm feeling loose, when I already feel good and I'm already sweating after practice, it was so much easier for me to do that. Now I don't stretch nearly as much, but every rest day I'll stretch, do mobility. So every 3 days. And then I always do some sort of like hip mobility, dynamic stretching and stuff before legs, but not like a full on static stretch or anything. And if I'm feeling it, I'll roll out, I'll stretch post legs sometimes, maybe once or twice a week, but it's not every time. I probably do, in a nutshell, 2 to 3 mobility sessions a week at like 15 minutes at this point.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that is.
That suits me like to where I'm preventing injury, but not as flexible as I used to be, where like I could just
Yeah.
jump through a split and it'd be very easy. I think I could get back to that quick, but it's like a little worse. It's probably more flexible than most, but not super flexible.
Yeah, you're in maintenance mode.
Yeah.
Iron Summit is brought to you by Bridge Athletic. Looking for a way to streamline your training programs and deliver exceptional results? Check out our friends at Bridge Athletic. Their platform is packed with over 300 templates and 1,500 instructional videos, courtesy of subject matter experts like Exos, FMS, and Hyperice, making program design both efficient and impactful. Our listeners can take advantage of an exclusive offer. For a limited time, get your first 30 days free and your next month at 50% off when you use code Iron Summit, all caps. That's code Iron Summit, no spaces, all caps, for 30 days free plus 50% off your second month at bridgeathletic.com. Check it out and start assigning custom programs directly to your athlete's mobile device.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. I need to up my game. Maybe I just need your mobility routine. If someone just told me what to do, I'd be
I think I like warming up too is such an underrated thing. Like so many times I'll be in a rush. I'm like, I got an hour, I got to get this done. And then I'm like, okay, that's when I tweaked my back, because I jump into stuff without like really spending some time to warm up. And you get away with that when you're younger. And I'm like,
yeah, you're getting too old for that shit.
I'm an old man now. I can't do that. But at the same time, you don't see a lion warm up, lion just jumps.
Lion lived like 12 years old, right?
I'm here for a good time, man. I'm not a long time.
I also don't know how long a lion lives. Someone's gonna like correct me on that.
They live longer than humans. No, it's probably like 30 years, honestly. Well, maybe not. Bigger animals are less.
Cats live a long time, man. What'd you say?
King of the jungle doesn't need any warm ups, man.
I'm looking
Cheetah doesn't warm up to take down a gazelle.
A male adult lion lives 8 to 10 years.
Wow. That's short.
Yep. Probably should do his warm-ups.
I don't know. The way science is going, though, maybe this is a good closing topic, Greg. What do you think the future of, weightlifting, health, longevity? Because it seems like we're right on the cusp with AI and just like the amount of knowledge the world has in general now, to like really expanding quality of life, not just like years, but just quality. I mean, I'll see an 80-year-old at the gym sometimes. I'm like, how is that dude moving? And they're like, probably like used to be a 60-year-old's mobility, and they're 80 now.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I feel like now there is a lot more information for people to, stay in better shape for a long period of time. But when it comes to like the formulation of different things like peptides and stuff like that, and just like helping longevity, there's definitely going to be some crazy changes, I bet, in the next like 10 years, because we're already seeing, I don't know how like familiar you guys are with like peptides and stuff, but the GLPs, like the
Oh
semen
yeah.
glute, which is pretty much, it just suppresses your appetite. And that's where people lost a bunch of weight. Then they came out with tirzepatide. I forget what like the clinical name is. But it helps with like your insulin sensitivity and your
Yep.
fasting blood glucose and stuff. And then they came out with another one more recently that's in trials that's essentially allows you to burn fat. There's like 3 different effects it has on glucagon, appetite, and your insulin sensitivity. So like if they're coming up with things that you just take and you can burn fat, you can improve your health markers, your lipid, your cholesterol, your blood glucose, and then it suppresses your appetite too. Like I'm yeah, it's going to be crazy what they come out with when it comes to, obviously there's testosterone and stuff, but like a mixture of that sort of health supplement that keeps your body fat low and all your health markers good, plus longevity with, training or just muscle mass. Like I think they're coming out with one that acts on growth hormone too. So it's those 3 receptors and growth hormone. I forget what it's called. But like if they're coming out with this stuff now and it's all in trials, in 10 years, it's going to evolve the same way AI has, with how quick that's been, with just an uprise in the things that we can do essentially. So like, I'm pretty curious to see what they come up with in science in the next 10, 15 years.
Dude, it
Yeah.
scares the crap out of me, some of that stuff. We had a doctor on that's like a GLP-1 doctor, and we've had a guy that's, the forefront leader of peptides. And like some of that stuff, like the studies sound amazing, but I'm like, I'd like to see 25, 30 years of data before, like, I don't know. Some of that stuff, it's like, you wonder what the downstream, and obviously there's a risk reward. Like if you're 600 pounds and you can lose 200 pounds by taking this pill, like your life's going to be better. But yeah, I'm just like, I feel like I'm skeptical on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's good to be.
Yeah. It's good to have skepticism around everything. And it's tough though, cause like you said, if you're somebody in the situation where that is way better than the opposite end, if like you're
Hmm.
just weight and you're really fat, for example, like definitely jump on that. Um, but I'm thinking about it too. If you're maintaining like similar blood work, better blood work, everything is improving, even in the first 6 months that you're doing it. The only other thing that I would think is, okay, how is it affecting maybe your heart or organs? And like, you can go get that imaging done and you go see a cardiologist and stuff too. And if all that stuff is good and all your blood markers are good, like I don't really see what the downsides could be long term if everything is functioning normal or better in your body after 6 months or a year,
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I can think of is like some long-term cancer outcome, but
Yeah.
the semaglutide has been around for like 20
Mhm.
something years now, so you'd think we would be seeing that. We don't know on some of the newer combinations, but no, I think it's super interesting on the weight loss ones. I think they're fascinating. I think like maybe the most interesting thing here is on those is like the mental effect they have
Yeah.
and how they're able to like decouple dopamine from eating behaviors, which is like a huge problem in weight gain.
Mhm.
But not only that, they're like giving it to like addicts going into rehab for like alcoholism or like addiction to cocaine, and they're seeing like crazy effects with like it's something in the dopaminergic like loop. They're really improving, which that's fascinating.
That's it's funny you bring that up. Like that's definitely a big part of I feel like mainly in the GLP-3 to retatrutide. Like I feel like that one has been pretty crazy with people saying they're quitting nicotine or they don't need their ADHD meds and things like that, where I don't know how that works. I don't know the science behind it,
I don't
but
think the people who
people,
came up with it even know. It's just like happening.
It works.
It works. And then the other thing I'll say is I actually just want this guy Alex Keekle, who's like probably the foremost thought leader on peptides. He's the kind of he works a lot with Anthony, who we had on the podcast, Ryan. He was just on a podcast saying he thinks people are going to be like living like 120 to 180 years in the next like 20 to 30 years.
That's crazy. Yeah. I don't know
yeah,
though. Then you see like Serena Williams taking it, and I'm like, she's a world-class athlete. Like, you know, I think
It's
there's got
just
to be
like
some.
maybe a little. How about okay? Well, we could spend the whole podcast on this, but
You could talk a
you
while.
look at like all of the data, and the one thing we know for certain is having excess adipose tissue is terrible for you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like the most clear thing in health sciences, which health science is not a very clear topic. But if you can do something to reduce that, even Serena Williams, who was, she was a world class athlete, but like, I'm not saying she was fat, but she was like, thick. You know, like, as she gets older and is truly trying to improve her health, she can take something that'll like helps her bring that down.
I hear
Especially
you.
if she was struggling with like maybe like I don't know Serena, but like women of that age, they go through menopause, they struggle with wanting to eat more. You used to have to like bear and grin it and like
But I
just
think
get
there's
through it and eat
value
more.
in building the discipline around it too.
Well,
Like, I'm not
I
saying
agree, but most people don't have the ability. That's the reality.
And there's a few different things to look at too with who knows. And this is not most people. So like people will jump to the conclusion something's wrong with them when it's probably them not doing the work. But in like her scenario, advanced athlete probably has that discipline. Like maybe there was a thyroid and progesterone and issue along with that, where you go to a clinic, you go to like an HRT clinic, and they're like, hey, there's these things wrong with your blood work. So like, we're going to give you tirzepatide, like any sort of like the GLP, and then we're going to give you progesterone, and we're going to give you a thyroid med. And like, they're giving you like 4 things. So you're just like, okay, these are all going to help me instead of just doing like one at a time, which I would
yeah,
say is
that's
probably a better
fair.
way to think about it.
Yeah.
But that's also another thing where we have access now to these clinics that look at your blood work and tell you exactly what to take and prescribe it to you.
Yeah.
Makes it that much easier instead of just being like, I'm going to get tough and I'm just going to starve myself. Like, not starve, eat
That's
way
the
less.
rest of our mindset for
Yeah.
sure.
No, it's a good point. Like,
Also,
yeah.
I know a lot of people, and I don't know, Greg, but I know a lot of people who like train their butt off. They're mentally tough, like insane discipline when it comes to training and like even sleep, but then like food, for some reason, for some people, that's just like really hard for them to apply discipline to. I'm like, you're not one, obviously. Us three don't struggle with that. Like, Greg, you eat the same thing over and over every day.
You're a robot.
Like, and you don't care, right? But some people just like can't get over that food. Like they can't get over the food hurdle. And I think tirzepatide and these drugs are like it's like it is getting them over that food hurdle. I think it's more like tied to the emotional aspect of eating than
but I think that's outlier case, right? Like, what I'm saying is I think it's so
I don't think it's
mainstream
that
now.
much of an outlier. I think it's so many people with the food choices we have.
But is that
And
food engineering? Like, that's like our problem in the grocery store. Like, don't buy the crap. You can't eat the crap. Like, I'm with you. I think most people.
I agree, but
I'm not trying to be like, I think
Yeah.
there's definitely people that have issues where this is a great alternative for them and they should do it. But I don't think it should be your first line of defense. Like, I feel like you throw it out there like, oh, this is what you should do. And it's
I
like,
agree,
no,
right?
try first. Try to like sleep well, manage your stress, buy clean food. Like, don't go out and eat crap all the time. Work out, 3 to 5 times a week, and then see where you're at in 6 months. And if you're still like not moving the needle, maybe you go have that conversation. Like, I'm not a doctor, but I don't know. I don't think it should be I don't think we have enough delayed gratification, in this world currently.
For sure. I think with it, man, Deacon, like I totally agree too, where people just are not tough enough to be able to like do that. And there's a couple things to it. Somebody who isn't used to that and they're like, okay, I have to start eating like this. I have to start eating like this for the rest of my life is very daunting to think about. Even if in 6 months you realize this isn't that hard, I can make my food taste pretty good. I'm not like starving all day. It's not like I'm just eating chicken breast. They don't really realize that.
Yeah.
So it's much harder in that way. And then there's some people where I get like this when I'm dieting. My food noise is crazy. Like I can't wait until the next meal. And it's like, I'm just thinking about, all right, 12 p.m. next meal, 3 p.m. next meal after that. I'm like always hungry. And that's just when I'm dieting pretty hard. But like the GLPs and stuff are supposed to take away that food noise for people. So I feel like that's why you see it more like often used in athletics or in like bodybuilding and stuff like that now. But when it comes to the general pop, like I think it's the daunting side of knowing they have to eat like healthy, same meals all the time. Like, you know, if they can have cheat meals probably, but they know that 99% of their life isn't going to be like that. And they're like, I don't want to do this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. It's like you
I
can't have your cake and eat it too. Like if you want to eat like crap, you're gonna have to sacrifice other meals and other things.
I will
Or
tell you where I think it's dangerous, and I agree with you, Ryan, is like people take it and then do nothing on the lifestyle adjustment side of things, and then they're just eating less shit.
when
Like
if you're not
that's
strength training, you just lose a bunch of muscle too.
yeah,
Like you got to make
you're
sure you're
catabolic.
doing that stuff.
So like, yeah, you got to be careful for sure.
That's what they found in all the studies with semaglutide and tirzepatide too. It's
Yeah.
like people ate way less. They also lost like 48, like some crazy percentage of muscle mass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said. They're just eating less shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not strength training and all that. So it's like, yeah. But I think all the doctor, like if you're doing it with a doctor, now they're like saying you got to be lifting weights, you got to be eating enough protein. Probably not how it's being used more often than not, but you know,
Yeah. I
yeah,
think Dr. Nadowski that we had on, like he had a great approach to this, and he was like, it was a reasonable. He's like, this isn't a 1-to-1. Like there's always trade offs, whatever you're doing,
for
and
sure.
there's people it makes sense for, and there are people that doesn't, and that's why I don't know. I just think you should look into it more than just like doing it, but
Ripping it.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I agree.
Use it
It's
as a tool,
interesting.
you know,
Yeah.
like definitely build the base, build the foundation before you start.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Greg, you're the man. I think we could talk for hours and hours. We'll have to have you on another time. But best of luck. When's your next show? And maybe shout out your socials where people can find you.
Yeah, I'm competing. So I'm going through like a bulking phase again. So I started pushing up again. And then I'm gonna start a prep probably in like March-ish. So
Okay.
next summer I plan on getting on stage again. Hopefully I filled out the weight cap. Hopefully my legs are bigger and I feel good. So I'm excited for that though. I'm excited to diet and get out there and actually compete again because it's only like you don't do it too often, especially in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped to just get lean. When it comes to socials though, mainly Instagram, Greg_B25, trying to figure that stuff out right now, trying to keep it wrestling, but move towards fitness too. And it's a hard middle ground.
You got some great content for sure. We'll link it down below. But thanks so much for coming on, man. And we'll definitely be cheering you on. You've been crushing it the last few months.
Appreciate it, guys. And I appreciate you having me too.
Yeah, thanks, Greg.